What is Tada and why you decide to be part of it?
In a nutshell, Tada means data. It's the word data inverted. What we do is we collect data for AI companies. When you collect data, when you use data to train your AI, you want to make sure that this data is the best quality that you can get, because this will determine how accurate and robust your AI will become.
They are very open and they allow the community to add value, to share feedback, and you build with them. So it's something very impressive about Web3 because you don't see that often on Web2.
Sit at Starbucks, get a coffee, do a couple tests, get enough rewards to pay your coffee. It's kind of the idea. It's very simple. Usually Web3 people will be like our generation, I guess, 30-year-olds.
Tada is giving the opportunity to people to be involved in this new era of artificial intelligence. So would you like to share more about how Tada is giving this opportunity? Welcome back to the Global Blockchain Show podcast. I'm Cristina Nájera, and today I have a very special guest with me, Alex from Tada. How are you doing, Alex?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited to have you. Thank you for coming. And I want to start with Tada. What is Tada and why you decide to be part of it?
Yeah, great question. So in a nutshell, Tada means data. It's the word data inverted. So what we do is we collect data for AI companies. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because William, my co-founder, he owns a company that builds speech recognition systems, voice assistants like Siri, what you'd have on iPhones, for example. And so with this business, a opportunity was observed where there's a strong need for data when you build AI, but the data that was available was either super expensive, not of great quality, and a lot of issues around the way it's collected and delivered and then used by R&D companies, like R&D teams within the companies. And so that kind of sparked an idea about how to, propose something new, something that would solve these problems. And so when he talked about it with me, I got excited about it. We've known each other for 10 years. And that's how I joined the party about, let's try to do something great. And let's do it differently by building on blockchain. And so that kind of what sparked the whole thing when we started to work on it. And that's how I got to join and launch it.
Wow, I love that because you mentioned that you make it more interesting by building it on the blockchain.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to start Tada with the blockchain?
Yeah, so that's a great question because so when you collect data, when you use data to train your AI, you want to make sure that this data is the best quality that you can get, because this will determine how accurate and robust your AI will become. An AI is made of an algorithm, which is machine learning, and then a data set. So if your data is not too good, then while training your AI will not be very maybe accurate or robust. And so that means that the R&D teams, when they get a data set to train the model, they're going to want to double check, make sure that the data is okay, is good. Because if it's not, then, you're not getting good quality AI. So then, building speech recognition, just to give you an example, so, we know what we're talking about, the basic data set would be 1,000 hours of recordings from people. Mm-hmm. Let's say we need Vietnamese, for example. That was a demand we had. You need Vietnamese. So you need 1,000 hours of male, female, age groups, different types of background noise. You need to record these people, and that's your data set, and then you train your model. But one sentence, like one recording, could be 5 to 10 seconds. So then you have a data set that's huge. That means if you're an R&D team, you can pretty much only trust your supplier. You don't have the time to go through the whole thing, listen to everything, make sure it's okay. So that's a problem. That's the number one problem, apart from maybe the price and other things. And so we thought that with blockchain, being transparent, by design, because everything is on the blockchain, and that's, the general idea behind blockchain. That's kind of, piqued our interest to say, hold on, what could we do with blockchain that could solve the problem in AI? And so one of the things that we see is that The way we collect data is one where if we have a speaker that speaks in our app, to get paid by doing so, then other people will check what has been done. And the result of the checking, like, yes, it's a native speaker, there's no background noise, yes, it's in English or whatever the language, or yes, the right sentence was said, this information will be stored in the metadata, and then our customer will be able to look on the blockchain without having to go through each file, will be able to see, okay, I'm getting like 95% score on nativeness, 99% score on no background noise. Okay, that's fair enough. I'm happy with that. Let's go for it. And that's what we say is you don't have to trust us. Check it out on the blockchain. You have like a broad level information of what you have in your hands. So for that, blockchain is great.
Wow, I love that because you just showcase the beauty of blockchain, like why it's so important to use it in certain areas and certain industries like yours. And also, Tada is giving the opportunity to people to be involved in this new era of
that's the whole concept.
Artificial intelligence. So would you like to share more about how Tada is giving this opportunity?
Yeah. And that's the question you're asking is a good transition to the second reason why blockchain is interesting is because you can build communities. Okay, we are a community-based project and company. Our community is one of our biggest thing within Tada. And so blockchain is also a great way to raise awareness, to get people excited, to create a cult. There's a big theme of culture around Web3. But yeah, to answer your question, really the way people can get involved is just download the app. In the app, we're going to ask you like what language you speak, like what's your age category, what country you're from, like roughly what you know. And then we have a lot of tasks inside the app. We will ask you to read a sentence, to double check what somebody else did. Or it could also be take a picture, because we also do image-based AI. We also do text. And then you would get paid by doing very simple tasks that are useful to then train AI. So it's really, sit at Starbucks, get a coffee, do a couple tasks, get enough rewards to pay your coffee. It's kind of the idea. It's very simple.
Wow, I love that because now people can participate in this ecosystem. And you mentioned something very important, which is community. How Tada built the community?
Well, we didn't invent anything for that. It's roughly like any good way to do it. We just replicated. So, making sure, so like having a Discord, having a place where people can come, same thing on Twitter, engaging with the community, getting feedback from them, roughly having them involved in building, Tada. And that was a long process. We started to be public probably a year ago when Tada was still a beta. So like, not even V1, it was V0, and so we were looking for a lot of feedback, people testing, trying to break the app. And so at that stage, people are really excited because they're part of something that's going to become big. And so apart from that, it's any, if the question is on growth also, it's any technique that's well known on how to grow communities with referral programs, with anything that works where people want to come in and be a part of it. And so that's one thing. And there's many other things that we're looking at. Now we're looking at other ecosystems where a lot of people are already engaged in those ecosystems. So we want to be there and make sure that Tada is available through different venues and not just like one way, like not just the app, but maybe, other techniques where people can join without having to download the app from the app stores, but.
Interesting. And what I love about Tada and also the Web3 projects is that they are very open and they allow the community to add value, to share feedback, and you build with them. So it's something very impressive about Web3 because you don't see that often on Web2. And I'm very curious about the community. Is it based in certain region or you have a community that is global? And also, is this community Web3 savvy or they are on the Web2 side?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Right now, the community is roughly mainly from Europe, We have a big community also in Eastern Europe. In Turkey, we have a big community also in Turkey. And we're going to start to target other regions with Southeast Asia, with North America, with Asia as a whole. We also have people in Africa. And so we're at that stage where we launched Tada on the app stores 3 months ago. So right now, anybody, anywhere can come and download the app. So we're roughly already kind of everywhere because you can just, get the app from the app stores. But now we're focusing on growth. We've built the app. We've proved that the concept works. We're still testing a couple concepts, a couple ideas. But now it's time for growth and get the next million users. So that's really what we're working on. And so the question on Web3 savvy, yes, most of the people that are on Tada are Web3 savvy, which is great because then we can have interesting things like staking, liquidity providing, and people kind of already, get it. We don't have a lot of education to do on that. So that's a good plus. Plus, of course, if they understand, also the token aspect and our tokenomics and the way the price of the token is linked with us making sales and delivering data, it's easier if you're already used to that. But the real target for us is Web2 people. I mean, we want the whole planet. We need it because the more people we have on Tada, the better it is for AI in terms of data diversity and reducing the bias. Let's say that we only have 30-year-olds. Usually Web3 people will be like our generation, I guess, 30-year-olds. And it creates a bias because we have different, kind of the same prosody in the voice, or we have the same kind of mindset. And so when you when you probably use Siri when it started, or any other, I talk about Siri a lot, but because we have Luke Julia on board, which is a co-creator of Siri, he's an advisor for us. But any AI voice-based system, back then, if you asked your grandparents or young kids to speak, they'd have to repeat twice. It didn't work really well. That's because they didn't have the data back then, maybe on those categories of people to train the model. So the more people we have with the more diverse crowd will help get AI systems that work really well. That's why we're aiming for Web2. We need it.
Wow, very impressive. You have a very strong team, and that's very important for any startup because when people go and see if they are interested on investing in the app or joining the app, it's important to see that they have very strong team behind. So congratulations on that. And thanks. I would love to know more about the journey of Tada. Now you moved to Dubai and you were in France. So how moving here has impacted your business?
Well, I mean, we were not only in France, but in a small town in France. So obviously we had to be in a more busy area. It was nice to focus and build. Now is the time to network more, have more partnerships, build with others. And obviously Dubai is the place to be for that. We looked at other cities, but some of our investors is here. There's a big market here. Web3 is really big in Dubai. So it's really the place to be. And so, it has helped us a lot. And I think it's going to continue. I mean, last time we met was also in Ras Al Khaimah. That's another, place to look at also. I mean, so the whole area is really booming. Also, Saudi Arabia is booming. I think it's the right place, right moment to be here.
Yes, you've been everywhere. I saw you were traveling also to the US and here. So how do you see the reaction on people in different areas?
What do you mean?
When, for example, you're in the US and you're sharing more about Tada and you have feedback from it, or is it the same energy that you get from all the people around?
I mean, I'm especially impressed by Asia. Went to South Korea, went to Singapore. Super dynamic, crazy people over there building hard. Really into tech. They know what they're doing. The US has always been, innovating, of course. But so you kind of expect, US to be on par with what's happening. I mean, especially when we talk about AI, a lot of, big businesses are from over there. But Asia for me was really surprising. And we're getting closer also to projects over there because what they're doing is really good. And it's a hard market to penetrate. You know, the culture is such, it's so different that you need to understand how it works to be able to onboard, because we need to have people that speak the languages over there, not only for language, but also for computer vision, so image-based AIs. If you look at how a road is in Europe, in the US, or Asia, different signs, different, road paints and stuff. So we need, all that diversity. So that's why we're also looking at those countries, those regions.
Yes, of course. You mentioned you want 1 million users and more. So, of course, it's very important to put together all the regions. And also, you mentioned that Tada is a platform where anyone can come, right? However, I feel like now people are very interested about AI, but not as much as Web3. So Web3, it's a very interesting topic because lots of people don't really understand what's Web3, what's crypto. So what has been the biggest challenge for Tada to onboard users?
So AI, Web3, for me, it's all about value. People are more interested in AI simply because it's more useful to more people. I mean, when I have things to think about or to challenge, I prompted a couple agents on ChatGPT, and they're my assistants. I like to call them this way. So there's a lot of value there because I can get second thoughts on things, or I can have a different point of view. And usually, the way I use it is more efficient than talking with my colleagues. I love my colleagues, but it's like harder to have a debate or something with. Everybody has its point of view, but the way AI, functions the way it is right now is where it probably uses data from more sources, so then it has a different point of view, which I like. So I think that's why, I'm just talking about myself, but I think that's why there's maybe more adoption in AI. And to me, Web3, I wouldn't say that you need Web3 adoption per se. You need to build tech that makes sense, that people want to use. If it's Web2 or Web3, who cares? But I think there's a lot of value in Web3. I think the way it's viewed today is, first of all, everybody's in Web3 for the money. Crypto, it's a financial game. So that's, I think, the first motivation for people. So then when there's the financial aspect, then people maybe are there for a quick buck and not so much for the long run. And I mean, that's why we're here for. The reason why, as I said, we're building on Web3, on blockchain, is because it's really useful for what we're doing as a tech. And so in the end, our customer, which is an AI company, they don't care if we're using Web2 or Web3. All they want is good data. So should we talk about Web3 adoption? I don't know. We should talk about value in Web3. And if there's value, secondary effect is that people will adopt it. Just like we adopted the internet instead of typing machines, or the computer instead of typing machines. It just makes more sense. So if Web3 makes more sense, we'll have adoption there.
Yeah, 100%. Now we all use internet and we have no idea how it works on the back end, right?
Do you care?
No.
Do you have to know how it works?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the beauty about Web3. Like at the end, it's just the value that you're bringing into the ecosystem, and also how simple you make for people to come and use your product, and how you can both gain value. And I'm very curious about the token. There are lots of tokens: Algorand, Polygon, Ethereum. So why did you create your own token?
Great question. First reason why is because, as I said, we have a long-term vision. I talk a lot about what we do in voice, what we do in computer vision. But really, the underlying technology behind Tada is that we're organizing large crowds of people to produce quality, to produce high-level quality. And that's really, really hard to do. Like, try to get thousands, if not millions, of people to do one thing good. Like, with a spec sheet, that's really hard to do. So that's really what we're building. It has use cases for speech recognition, computer vision, for object detection, for robots, for automatic cars. But it may have needs for other industries which we haven't start scratching. And so having our own token in that scheme makes a lot of sense, because our platform is one where other builders can come and build their own modules to say, okay, now I need a crowd of people to do this, but I don't know how to organize them and make sure they're going to do a good job. And in that scenario, when we'll get at that stage, our token will be, we'll have gas fees with our token, and that'll be something really interesting. So we also have several steps in our technical roadmap to get there. And so we kind of thought on day one, like how far do we want to go, and when we'll be there, what do we need? So the token was part of that. So that's why we went for that. But yeah, otherwise, if you need to pay people, you could do it with a stable, right? I mean, but then you don't. It's also harder to get people excited, And so the token has a lot of benefits, that makes sense for us to actually have. The thing also is that you have to understand that when you're launching a token, you become public. I talk with a lot of builders. Everybody's about, I'm going to launch a token, okay? But once it's done, then it's just day one. Usually you think about it like giving birth. You've worked the way through, you worked on the tokenomics, you worked on the model, you try to raise funds, you try to get people interested, you're going to do an airdrop, then the token's out, okay, we're done. No, bro, it's day one, because now you're going to be judged on your token performance, but you have to focus on building your product. So every day you got to decide, okay, are we going to spend time on what will be the impact on token, or do we have to spend time on building a great product? And so having a token is like having a baby. Now you got to feed him, you got to take care of it. So it's not just for fun. It really has to be part of your strategy.
Wow, 100%. And you have TADA for that because people are using the token within the app. So I think it's
our
very
in-app
useful.
economy. Yeah, that's how people are
Yes.
paid. And when customers buy data, they actually buy the token. They buy TADA. And then we pay people with it. And then you can offer them with one click and go back to your fiat or stake to get more rewards, or provide liquidity to get more rewards.
Yes, that's what I love about Web3 and crypto, that literally you can create your own economy when you launch a token, because you give people a new way to transact, a new way to do things. So
more incentives. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, our other companies, because we bought data from other companies. Some companies pay with Amazon vouchers, for example.
Okay.
So it's not very liquid. You can only buy stuff on Amazon with it, which some people like. I mean, I'm an Amazon customer. I like what they, it's pretty convenient. But that's not the debate. What I'm saying is having also that Web3 element in your value proposition for data providers, for users, is great, because then it's so much more stuff that you can do within the app.
Yes, and maybe somebody come to the app to, give some data and gain more, some money.
Yeah.
However, once they got into TADA, and then they suddenly have tokens, and now they have to understand, okay, how can I make these tokens? How can I use these tokens? So maybe they exchange it for stable, and then they get money out. So I think that's a very good way also to make people understand how crypto works and why it's so useful.
Yeah. So we're talking again about getting Web2 people on board. We don't have to show them the whole mechanics. We can have like a simple mode. You just want to come in, perform simple tasks on your way to work or whatever, get paid for it, and that's it. And that'd be awesome. But if you want to be into the advanced mode or whatever, you can be, hold on a second, what's a token? Like, what's this? What's that? And then get into it. And then start to understand that it's not just something for geeks or whatever. It's actually fun, and it's actually useful. And I can stake. I can get rewards from staking. I can, have interest from doing that and stuff. And so, I think that's the best way to actually get into Web3 is to understand, how it works, and that you can be your own bank, and you don't have to rely on central banks and stuff like that. Once you kind of understand that, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's actually how I got into crypto, because I understood that and I say, okay, this is amazing. I can literally do so many things and I can make my money work for me. So for me, that was like something that I really wanted to get into, and also like make people understand also as well, because it's a huge opportunity. Like there is no barrier to enter.
No, it's, I could debate that. I mean, there is a little one right now where I think, if you have an asset on one chain and you want to do something on another chain, you're going to have to bridge it, wrap it, send it there, do this, do that, pay the gas fees. There's a little bit of a barrier and friction for people that are new to the system to come and use it. That's, I think, because we're still early and there's a lot of new solutions. Like every day there's a new project coming out, but there's also a lot of projects dying. I think there's a number, I forgot the source, but I think it was something along the lines of 80% of the projects that launched during the last cycle kind of died. I think that's what it is. So that means there's a lot of new ideas, probably ideas are maybe not sustainable. And I think that, time going by, at some point, there's going to be a concentration, less players, but bigger players that will have, enough resources to be able to build a technology that is simpler for the average Joe, where you don't have to maybe memorize, or handle your seed phrase, even though that's still the core of managing your assets. But I think we'll get at some point where we'll have a technical solution to onboard everybody. Like, the internet on day one was probably technical and complicated. Right now, anybody has it on their phone. You don't even think about it. So we'll get at that point at some point, I think.
Yes, hopefully soon. I want to see how this will be. And I'm very curious as well about your journey. How did you start your crypto journey?
My crypto journey? It wasn't a fun one, nice one, but I bought my first Bitcoins around 2014, I think, 10 years ago. I don't want to think about how the price was at that point, considering where it's now, because what happened is I bought it. It went down like half price down for like 6 months or something. So I bought high and then went back up, and I put a take profit pretty much at where I bought it, because I just wanted that if it spiked back up, I'm out of it and it's not for me. So that's what happened. I got out of it. And then I kind of got disgusted by it, like, okay, it's not for me. Let's just do something else. So I started working and making money the old school way, I guess. But I kind of got interested into the tech, when, right before Tada. I have a couple friends, like my cousin is in heavily into crypto. And so, just basic conversations, having a drink and understanding how it works, and then experimenting a couple things, actually got me back into it. And then with Tada, I went full on. And actually, I think I missed out, Should have gotten back in like much earlier. But I don't think there's a good or bad moment to, the earlier the better, of course. But if you look at how many, like the adoption is not really adopted, like not a lot of people actually have crypto relative to the amount of humans on Earth. So I think it's still the right time to get in.
Yes, 100%. Like most of the people are not very familiar with crypto, and maybe they got something and then they never use it again. So I think that's still a good opportunity now for people to understand more and to get more involved in that. And now you are like more involved on that because you have a token. Yeah. So everything you do, I guess, is like related to crypto, and also you meet people that are connected with
that's
crypto.
That's it. And doing events, like I did a poker tournament at a Multiverse X event. And the way you got in was by buying an NFT. So then you're like, most people think an NFT is just an image. Why would I pay so much money for just pixels? No, it's not just that. I mean, there's technology behind that makes sense. And so, having that is like, okay, yeah, I get it, but it has to be by seeing the value, like experimenting the value and getting value from it.
Yes. And for example, when you see your old friends or your old colleagues, and now you are in this different environment, how can you explain to them what is crypto?
Most people, like my family doesn't get it, or like some close friends, they don't. Sorry guys, I love you guys. But it's like, it's more, the first like thing that comes to mind to them is it's not sustainable. Like, it's like, why don't you be serious for a second and come back to Web2 and build something sustainable? But, and I can understand, there's a lot of things happening in Web3 where it's still kind of the far west or jungle sometimes. But I think that's the biggest thing is sometimes people don't take it seriously if you're building serious tech on Web3. And so you kind of have extra work to do. But like, why would you need to convert people into it? Just show them how it works. I mean, just download Tada, look at how it works, perform a couple tasks. You don't even need to know it's Web3. We'll tell you at some point, but, you know.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. And I want to understand what freedom means to you, and can Tada be a tool for that?
Freedom. That's a really big topic. It's a philosophical question, and I'm not a philosopher. But no, the thing I like is to say, you know, with money, because, you know, getting back to crypto, you know, back in the dark ages, people would hide their gold coins. They would be their own bank, I guess, to some extent. But then there's also a risk, which is you can lose it, right? So the bank has a role of custody, and they will hold your assets for you, and that's convenient because you just have a credit card, piece of plastic, you beep, and then you buy your whatever you gotta buy. So that's convenient. Holding your crypto is nice because you're free, like nobody's gonna freeze your assets. But now you have to understand a couple things about security, you know, how not to lose your seed phrase, as we've seen with people trying to dig for their hard drives in a dumpster somewhere. So yeah, it's freedom, but you're also the slave to the system, because you have to make sure that, you know, you're going to be smart with the way you handle it. And I don't know if everybody has that ability. Like, you know, it's when I got my first, you know, wallet, I read up so much and looked at a lot of videos and talked to a whole bunch of OGs. And how do you secure seed phrase? Everybody has a different way to do it, you know. So already just there, it's yeah, you gotta pay attention to that.
What was the most interesting one? I am very curious.
Method?
Yes.
Well, okay, so it's one where you like split your seed phrase in 3.
Okay.
And you either hide it in different spots, or you give it to like people you trust, where you just need 2 people to recover your seed phrase. So like if that means you need a consensus amongst your, because you can have friends or family that turn around and you don't trust anymore, but you still have to have that system that can work without it. That's not what I do, and I won't say what I do. Never, but yeah, that was a good approach.
Yeah, because I lost my first seed phrase.
Oh,
so yeah,
I hope you didn't have too much on it.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it anymore. But yeah, I think that's something very interesting and very important to know. You know, what are the methods that people use to keep their
It's like anything.
phrase.
I mean, before you go into it, you want to, you know, kind of learn how it works, or you'll learn the hard way.
Yes, I know. Yeah, so you were asking the second question, which was, can Tada bring more freedom?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, on your free time, either you can play on Candy Crush. I don't know if anybody still plays that game, or you can go on Tada and earn money. That brings you more freedom, because then you can do more stuff with what you earned. Yeah, I mean, Tada contributes to that. And there's also, like, thinking, you know, longer down the line, with what we do, there's a huge need to collect what's called low resource languages. Some dialects where not a lot of people still speak them, are able to speak that language. So we're talking with governments, for example, in Africa, like Uganda, where they have over 50 dialects, but the main language is English. So if you're outside of the capital city and you want to go and withdraw money, you have to read English on the ATM to be able to withdraw money. Some people don't speak English. And what I was told from our partners is that they wait for somebody to come, give their card or whatever to say, hey, you speak English? Can you withdraw money for me?
Wow.
That's a huge problem. You're not free when you're doing that. And so the reason why we're talking with them is try to help them collect these languages, these dialects, so that speech assistants in ATMs would be able to understand what people say. If we can achieve that, that's more freedom for them, for example. So that's one example where Tada can help with more freedom.
Wow, I love that. It's very interesting. Like, I love that you are taking the next step and, going to places that maybe you never thought you will be before, like Astada.
That's the whole thing. You start with an idea, you push it, and you're like, hold on a second, we can also do this, and we can also do that. And yeah, that's really important when you build a business, is to try to see the big picture. It's like you want to go there, you don't know how, but you're going to go there. And on the way there, you're like, oh, hold on a second, there's that bigger thing over there. And that's super exciting.
Yes, because did you imagine yourself living in Dubai?
No. When we started Tada, we came to Dubai first time when I came to Dubai first time was in 2022 for GITEX, which is a huge trade show. So I seen Dubai, I seen Singapore, I seen a couple other cities, and Dubai was one of the places where like, hold on a second, I'd see myself live there for a little while. And at some point when we decided to go to a bigger city and a different ecosystem and whatnot, we looked at Dubai, we're like, okay, that's where we're going,
Yes, Dubai is the place to be, 100%. Yeah. Thank you, Alex. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
And thank you for watching. Remember to share this with your friends because everybody deserves to know more about Web3, AI, cryptocurrency, and blockchain. I'm Cristina Nájera. See you next time.
And also, you can go on our Twitter, our Discord, our website, download the app, and be a part of the community.
Amazing. See you on Tada. Thanks.